X-Men 2000. Charles Xavier is basically the calm brain of the whole mutant world. He's this powerful telepath who believes mutants and humans can coexist, even when the world clearly isn't ready for that idea. Unlike Magneto's aggressive mutants-first approach, Xavier plays the long game, education, patience, and moral high ground. Patrick Stewart's casting as Professor X is honestly one of the most perfect superhero castings ever. The movie did really well for its time, making around $296 million worldwide on a budget of roughly $75 million. For me, this movie isn't just important, it's memorable. It set the foundation for everything that followed and gave us one of the best portrayals of Professor X ever put on screen. No matter how many superhero movies come out, this one will always have a special place for me. What about you guys? Does this movie still hold up as a favorite, or do you think later X-Men films did it better? X-Men United, 2003. It is low-key one of the most interesting Professor X portrayals we've ever gotten. That scene where Stryker forces him to control all mutants worldwide. Still chilling. It really sells the idea that Xavier isn't just morally good, he's choosing restraint every single day. Patrick Stewart was basically the only actor everyone agreed on instantly when casting the X-Men. Bryan Singer has said Stewart brought a Shakespearean gravitas that grounded all the sci-fi craziness, and you can feel that in this movie especially. This version of Xavier feels wiser, more burdened, and honestly more human, especially in his complicated but not so different dynamic with Magneto. What do you guys think though? Is X2 the peak of their relationship in the whole franchise? X-Men The Last Stand, 2006. We see him trying to control Jean Grey's Phoenix powers by suppressing her trauma, and that decision ends up costing him everything. The death scene, killed by Jean herself, is still one of the most shocking moments in the entire X-Men franchise. At this point, it's hard to imagine anyone else in the role. This was also the last time Stewart played Xavier until Days of Future Past, so at the time, fans genuinely thought this was the end of the character forever. Some fans feel that's why Charles's death, and honestly the whole movie, felt rushed. What do you think? Was it bold storytelling, or studio pressure? Despite all the criticism, The Last Stand actually did really well financially. Patrick Stewart reprised his role as Professor Charles Xavier, but instead of recasting, the filmmakers chose to digitally de-age him. I don't think it worked. The de-aging tech at the time just wasn't there yet. His face looks stiff and unnatural, and for a cameo that's short, it almost feels unnecessary. X-Men First Class, 2011. We see Charles Xavier at a young age for the first time, and the role is played by James McAvoy. This movie basically shows how Professor X became Professor X, how he started the X-Men and why he believes in coexistence. Before this movie, Professor X was always played by Patrick Stewart, so this was a new casting and kind of a risk for the studio. One important part is his relationship with Eric Lehnsherr. At first, they are friends and work together to help mutants. But slowly, their ideas start to clash. Charles wants peace, Eric wants protection through power. This conflict is the emotional core of the movie. James McAvoy was chosen because he didn't try to copy Patrick Stewart. He played Charles in his own way, making him more human and relatable. His chemistry with Michael Fassbender was so good that many people say their friendship carried whole movie. What do you guys think? Did James McAvoy do justice to Professor X? And where do you rank First Class among X-Men movies? The Wolverine, 2013. Patrick Stewart appears briefly as Professor Charles Xavier in a post-credits cameo scene. In that moment, Xavier and Magneto approach Wolverine at an airport to warn him about a new coming crisis, a setup for the next film. X-Men Days of Future Past, 2014. It is still one of my favorite X-Men movies, and I think a major reason is how it handled Charles Xavier's story. For the first time in the franchise, we not only saw both the young and old versions of Professor X, played by James McAvoy and Patrick Stewart, but the movie also gave them meaningful emotional depth. The passing of the torch between them felt real and powerful, and I thought it was perfectly handled. The movie holds a 90% plus score on Rotten Tomatoes and is widely praised for blending great action, time travel logic, and emotional character arcs. It earned around $747.9 million, making it one of the top-grossing X-Men films ever. Is this your favorite movie too? Let me know which X-Men movie is your favorite. X-Men Apocalypse, 2016. It is basically the moment where the franchise tried to go full mythological. Set in the 1980s, the movie introduces En Sabah Nur, Apocalypse, the first mutant ever. which instantly clashes with Charles Xavier's belief in coexistence and hope. One of the strongest moments in the movie is when Apocalypse invades Charles's mind and uses his powers against humanity. McAvoy himself has said this was one of the darkest versions of Xavier he played, and you can feel it. Logan 2017. It isn't just another superhero movie, it feels more like a quiet goodbye. Set in a bleak future, we see Logan old, broken, and tired in a way we'd never seen before. His healing is slower, his body hurts, and for once, claws aren't enough to fix everything. But what really hits hard is seeing Charles Xavier in old age. Professor X doesn't have a huge role in terms of screen time, yet his presence carries the emotional weight of the entire film. Logan taking care of Charles feels like a full circle moment, the student becoming the protector. And then comes that scene. Charles Xavier's death, easily one of the most emotional deaths in any superhero movie. Knowing Patrick Stewart and Hugh Jackman both believed this was their final time playing these characters. Patrick Stewart has said he originally didn't want to return as Professor X, until he read the script. That's how strong the story was. Dark Phoenix, 2019. It was supposed to be the emotional full circle for the Fox X-Men saga, and especially for Professor Charles Xavier. This movie quietly became the last time we saw James McAvoy's version of Xavier, closing a chapter that started all the way back with First Class. The movie went through major reshoots and rewrites, especially the third act. The original ending was reportedly way darker and more cosmic, but after Captain Marvel similarities and studio concerns, Fox scaled things back. I think Dark Phoenix isn't the worst X-Men movie, it's just the most disappointing. So I'm curious, how did you feel watching this back? Let me know what you think. I feel like this movie hits everyone a little differently. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, 2022. This was the first official appearance of Charles Xavier in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Seeing Patrick Stewart return after nearly 5 years felt surreal. As amazing as it was to see him back, was he properly utilized? Personally, I don't think so. Xavier appears as part of the Illuminati of Earth 838, positioned as this wise, powerful telepath who believes Wanda can be reasoned with. For a character of his legacy, it felt more like a cameo than a meaningful arc. Still, the scene where Xavier enters Wanda's mind, that was peak Professor X. Avengers Doomsday, 2026. Return of Patrick Stewart as Charles Xavier, plus Magneto finally standing beside him, it honestly feels like Marvel is gearing up for a proper X-Men era in the MCU. Are you excited to see Charles Xavier return once more? If you enjoyed this breakdown of the evolution of Charles Xavier in live action, hit like, subscribe, and join the lab, because this is where stories evolve. I'll see you in the next evolution.